Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Delsbert, and as always, I'm super excited to be here. It's a beautiful but cold day in the neighborhood. We're here in Atlanta and we're saying, what in the world is going on with the weather? We have had low temperatures as low as like 11 degrees, and then with the wind chill, it was like 2. It was like 2. Last night was like 8 or 9. It is just too cold for Atlanta, but things are looking up. You know, I'm checking the weather like every day, and they're saying tomorrow it'll be a little warmer, maybe in the 40s and 50s, because it's just too cold. But I think it's a whole Northeast thing that everybody on the Northeast is just shivering their timbers, if you will, right? It's just too cold. But it's January, and it's winter, and so you know the Most High, He can do everything. They can do whatever they want to do. It's supposed to be cold this time of year, so we're just gonna have to layer it up. You know, that's why I'm wearing my little chapeau today, a little hat, just to kind of stay warm. We're trying to stay warm, but there's a lot of sunshine here in the studio today, and I'm super excited to talk about my guests. But I want to welcome all of our new listeners. Thank you so much for taking time to check us out. Let me give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. We're all about creatively collaborating to connect and raise awareness regarding issues that impact women, and we do it by way of community service, public speaking, mentoring, and the arts. I just always like to plug this, that I have been doing this particular podcast with my producer. Yes, Jack Trey. Yes, we've been doing this now since April of 2016. Long time. We've had some very good people in here, informative conversations, entertainment-wise and otherwise, empowerment tools, everything. We've talked about it over those years. And today is no different, right? Today's no different. Today's topic is life as a playwright, right? And today my guest is A.K. Payne. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to be here.
It's so nice to meet you. What a beautiful smile. What a nice person. Welcome. So glad to have you. I'm going to jump right into it. Tell the people, where are you from?
So I was born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Okay. It's cold up there too.
It is cold.
You're used to the cold.
Yes. Very much so.
Go Steelers. Were you a Steelers fan at all?
My family is. Everybody watches football.
So cold up there. What got you here to Atlanta? How did you end up here?
Yeah, so I just finished grad school. I just finished getting my MFA in playwriting. And part of this it's a graduate playwriting competition at the Alliance Theater. And I applied for it in my last year of grad school, and I'm here doing a play.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Why a playwright? Were you always creative as a young person?
I was.
A little girl, perhaps a little person?
Yes.
And just had a huge imagination?
I definitely did. My mom is a music teacher back home, and my dad's a carpenter. I spent a lot of time just creating things, building things, imagining worlds.
Wow.
And I started writing plays when I was in middle school and high school. I went to an arts high school. So yeah.
What type of music for mom? What was her specialty?
She does a lot of different genres. So she sings some opera. She also does jazz and also does like just lots of different things. But yeah, she's really wonderful.
Did dad build any of your sets or help build a little
Not
bit?
Not any sets, but I spent a lot of summers helping him build like houses and build things like that. So yeah.
I feel a little Spike Lee with you a little bit, in the sense that because Spike was a creative person and wrote a lot of his movies and went to Morehouse. But his dad was very instrumental musically and wrote a lot of the scores. And so that's why I was asking about mom. Does she give you any kind of musical inspiration?
Yeah, she makes up songs all the time. That was my childhood, just spending her just like making up songs about anything. And I think that informs how I write. A lot of how I write is related to poetry or like rhythm or like just how the characters kind of speak to each other, being rooted in some ways in like a sort of rhythmic or poetic quality.
Nice, yeah. Yes, that's good to know. Do you remember the first thing you've written?
Yes, or my first play. I remember the first play and also the first thing I ever wrote, which was a poem. Right. When I was a kid.
You remember how old?
I was probably around 6 when I wrote my first poem.
I mean, really young.
Yeah, very young. And then when I was in middle school, they had a Young Playwrights Festival back where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I wrote a play, and I was just so excited. I was 12 years old at that time, and I was so excited to see how playwriting is about like community building and about like people coming together. And it's like this idea that one person has like in solitude, but it creates different ideas and it creates more community. And there's all these different designers who come together. And
absolutely,
I was so excited by that.
And I have excitement on the inside because I'm older than you. I know you can't really tell, but I am. And so there's always talks about some of the things that they always cut is the music and the arts program.
Yes.
And so I'm really excited in knowing that for you, that was an avenue for you, that it wasn't obsolete. It was something, especially in junior high school. That's pretty impressive that you were able to express yourself creatively. I want to take you back to when you were 6. Who was the audience for your poem? Did you share it with your family, and what was their reaction when you did?
I shared it with my family for sure. They were all like really just moved, and I think they started thinking about me being in art spaces more and more around that time. And I was like in dance classes back then too, so I was just always involved in just different arts things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like the first thing I ever had written, and so they were really excited about it. Yeah.
Do you remember what it was? What was the context, a little bit of
it was
that
just,
poem?
I think it was all about like just imagining just a world beyond where I was at the time.
Nice.
And so I think a lot about world building in all of my work. And so it was all about just imagining an alternate world. So my imagination was always, I was playing with dolls and all the things.
Yeah.
So built in new worlds as a kid.
So then you did your first play, junior high school, right?
Yes.
Another sensation there. Did that catapult you into high school or college? How did you make your academic decisions based on that play?
Yeah, so I went to, like I said, I went to an arts high school for literary arts. We had majors at that time.
Right.
So my mom also went there, and that's where Billy Porter graduated from. That's his high school too. The Billy Porter.
Yes. Billy Porter. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Pittsburgh Kappa.
Nice.
So yeah, they have different majors, and everybody studies something different there. It's a public school and a magnet school. So yeah, I went there throughout high school, and I was like, maybe I'll go to college and be a lawyer or something, because I was a little nervous about being an artist and just taking that leap into it, but it's what I've always loved to do.
Okay.
But I got to college and just did theater all the time.
Really?
I didn't study it. I studied English and African American studies, but I did theater outside of my classes and directed and put up my own shows and just wanted to do that forever. So
why a lawyer? You don't look like you would like to argue. There's not an argumentative spirit. I don't feel none of that. Why a lawyer, and what type of lawyer were you thinking?
I really was interested in like international and like human rights law.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm really passionate about a lot of different issues.
Yes.
And things like that. So that was really important to me. I did mock trial in high school and loved doing that.
Now that makes sense.
Yes.
Now that makes sense. Yeah. I could see you doing that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But you went to college, and did you take any classes in law at all?
No.
Or it was all about the creative side?
I did English and African American studies, which you can do a law degree with that too.
That's like a core competency. It is like core.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not an elective. That's core stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was my major. Those were my double majors. And then I did a lot of theater outside. But yeah.
Now, while you're in college, are you writing plays that you're seeing being produced, or how did you keep your creative enthusiasm going while you're in college?
Yeah, I wrote a lot of plays when I was in college. I particularly was working on a play that was inspired by my grandmother's life story. And it was like a lot of interviews that I did about her life story and like just putting all the pieces together. And so that was the biggest project that I worked on during college. And then I like directed a few plays as well. And then me and my friends got together and produced a play. So it was just like a lot of different projects. And so by the time I graduated, I had like a show that had gone up about washerwomen it's actually a group of women from Atlanta actually who had a strike in 1881, a washerwoman strike, and I had a play about that went on when I was in college.
Interesting. So where do you find your inspiration, AK? Where does that come from for you?
A lot of it comes from history. history for me, or sort of thinking about the relationship between past, present, and future. So like where we are now and how that relates to who we've been, particularly Black histories, and how they connect and come together. I have a play that is sort of inspired by Afrofuturism. I have a series of plays called the Black Space Plays, and it's about this father who gets out of jail and decides the world isn't big enough to hold the dreams of his child. And so he builds a rocket ship and he's like, I'm going to space. And the play is kind of about the child's journey with like discovering who her dad was and like kind of thinking about what does it mean to imagine freedom for Black children and for Black families.
Awesome. Let's fast forward a little bit to where we are today. Being a recipient of this honor, right? You know, being able to have your play at the Alliance Theater. For those that don't know, Alliance Theater has been around several years here in Atlanta. A lot of great plays have come through those doors and been on those stages. And so now you're afforded that opportunity to have that, have your play there. How does that feel for you? Like, how does that feel? That like she's like, yeah, that's like a wow, right?
It really is.
That's like big.
Yeah, it feels super exciting. I truly am so grateful every day because I think just being able to do the thing that like my 12-year-old self was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I think that feels really, really special, particularly in doing it in a theater that is in a city that I've like admired so much for so long. I think it's an incredible city. Yes. Yeah. So I think that's really special to be able to like do things outside of where I'm from too, to be able to share work in different spaces and just get to know different parts of the world. I think that's really exciting for me.
I think I've always felt that Atlanta is a place where dreams can happen. It is a city of Black excellence, I think, before we coined the term, because when I came here years ago, I was inspired or marveled that regular people that looked like me had a simple job, but they did have a creative side, or they were doing entrepreneurial type things, or it just felt like you could really make things pop, like things could actually happen. And I tell people all the time, I don't think I would have been able to have my nonprofit Real Chicks Rock in New York. I don't think I would have been able to access the outlets like doing this podcast and other things and meeting incredible people like Mashawn and yourself and the Johnny Cornigays of the world, like other people, if I had been still in New York, because it's a grind. It's a constant, I got to go to work to make this money, to pay my rent, to put food on my table, and that's the cycle. I believe Atlanta gives you an opportunity to breathe. Right?
Absolutely.
And breathe into a dream or into a passion. And then the universe provides like-minded individuals to be in your community, to be in your space, to help support that. So I want to ask you, when this opportunity came about, did someone tell you about submitting your play? How did you know, to go for this? Like, how did that come about for you?
Well, I actually think it was initially mentioned to me from my mentor, Terrell Alvin McCraney. So he was in charge of my program at grad school. And he's an incredible mentor and teacher and artist.
Those are important,
and so he had mentioned it because he had won this award early on in his career. And so he was really excited about it and had shared it with me. And so, I applied. I was really grateful to find out earlier 2023 that it had gotten the award.
This is amazing because people envision all their lives to have this opportunity, and here you are going to have it for yourself. And it's not even just like a few nights. It's going to run for a bit.
Absolutely.
Like from the 31st till like March
3rd.
That's a long time. That's over 30 days to give people an opportunity to come check this out. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the seats.
I would love that.
So tell the people about the play, like the name of it, how did it come about. Just give us a little insight. I have it here in front of me, but it sounds sweeter coming from your lips. So tell the people about your play.
So it's a play called Furlough's Paradise. It is 2 people, and it's just in a single room over a course of a few days. And it's these 2 cousins who are both only children, and they're both grieving in different ways. And it's one of them is on a furlough from prison.
Is it Sadie, or are we going Sade?
Oh, it's Sade. It's definitely Sade.
Yes, who just turned 65 the other day. Doesn't look it. She's gorgeous. Yes. It's Sade. Okay. Yes, beautiful name.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mina.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Mina. So, one of them's on a furlough from prison, and it's just them getting to hang out together, and they're wrestling with the differences between them, where their lives have gone different ways. But really, at the core of it, it's about their relationship as cousins and who they've been, who they want to be in the future, how they see each other, it's about tenderness and community and how we can hold each other in the midst of systems that often don't want to see us thrive.
Or even stay together.
Exactly.
And you talk about how the concept or the play itself. These two women are really wanting to be present in the moment and create like a current memory, right? Like really like stop with fronting and being all these things that you think I am or not, but just really, let's really get to why we even loved each other as cousins when we were little, right? I'm just kind of getting a sense of how important it is to just be present in the space.
Absolutely.
Because we don't do that today. Right? Because we're busy, we're here, we're there, we're texting, we're sending emojis, we're not creating moments. And so that's going to be really heartfelt.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of the journey because they only have this time together. The other cousin, once the time is up, like she goes back.
Yeah, she goes back. She's only out for the 3 days, right?
And so that time becomes really sacred for them. They don't have, throughout the play, there's like not a lot of, they don't have their phones out at all. They're just there.
How about
They're
that?
just present. So there's something really interesting about that and that possibility and allowing us to think about what it means to not take time for granted with our loved ones. Like, what does that look and feel like?
Are you wanting people to walk away with a sense of how to love a person unconditionally or without judgment? What is the feeling or the vibe that you want people in the seats to feel when they see this beautiful play?
I think learning to love someone like with intention, with care. I think there's an important elements of like how do we love each other with like awareness of what we all have been through, that we each are walking into a room carrying something. So loving with intention, and then also just like how is there some of us like a superpower and being able to hold each other and tend to each other in the midst of things that again don't want to see us living or surviving. So how do we create those spaces of survival and of joy and of freedom that are dependent on each other?
It's important because our people in Black communities, we carry so much. Some self-appointed and some we didn't ask. Some of it we don't even know where it came from. Right? And so when I read the bio, when I read the information, I just felt immediately that it was an invitation for people to embrace more and talk about things that maybe they weren't comfortable about talking about before.
Absolutely.
And just to be free. Like I felt like there's a sense of freedom that will emerge from these women. Not seeing the play, but just what I'm just reading, and maybe I'm putting some stuff into it, or the energy that I feel. Because I feel when you have those conversations with people that you love, that's like you said, you want to be intentional. And you want to talk about the things that you felt maybe they weren't equipped to handle before, or whatever that is. And so it's going to be really interesting to hear their conversation and what they share. And how they love each other through it, and even how they part ways for however long that's going to be. But again, just being in the moment. And I think those are great tips and techniques to take in a relationship, like any relationship, whether you're intimate with someone, whether it's family. This is obviously cousins who probably loved each other like sisters, right? And we often have that, girlfriends, good friends that we've had. So it's gonna pop the top and really give people a different perspective on how to be present, how to communicate, how to be intentional, how to listen, and all that. That's great. That's awesome. There's a lot of buzz in the air these days with The Color Purple, right? It's different. It's not like what we saw in the movie. It's a musical. It's different. Most people like it, the ones that have seen it. I've not seen it yet. And then some people, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that because of this buzz of The Color Purple, people are starting to get re-engaged with theater and wanting to sit in seats more? What say you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always an interest in like storytelling, and always an interest in like how do we see things that represent us and see things that represent the complexity of us.
Yes.
Like when I saw with my mom on Christmas Day, and I was like so excited just to see something that was like thinking about like all of these questions of like community and joy, and also like just healing. I think that's what something that people are thinking a lot about right now.
Yes.
So I feel like in many ways that those themes, I think people are always looking for ways to tell stories and to be listening to stories.
It's important. We come out of this pandemic. It's 2024, right? It's unbelievable. We've been inside for 2-3 years, right? Yeah. Did that discourage you at all with still wanting to be a playwright? I mean, because the entertainment and arts community got hit really, really bad, impactful, because we couldn't sit in the seats.
Exactly.
Right? You could do things virtually, but it didn't have the same impact, right?
Yeah.
So did you feel at any time like, maybe I should be this international lawyer? Did you think about that at all during that period?
I think about it all the time.
You still do? Pandemic or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. I think it always comes up, but I do think that there's that feeling of not feeling like I'm working, feeling like this is like all I want to be doing, where it's just like gathering in community, like the moments we've had in the rehearsal room where we're just like figuring out new ideas, just be like working on a project together. It feels so aligned with purpose in ways that I can't look away from. And I think I felt that during the pandemic too. Like I was like, there was always this fear of like, is theater going to come back? But the trust that I felt within myself of like, if this is what I'm called to do, or this is aligned with my purpose, then it's going to work out however it needs to work out. But I find that like storytelling, we're always going to crave gathering in a room together and telling something, sharing breath and space. That's one of the most human, like original things that we've done. And so I feel like we're going to find our way back to that in whatever form somehow. So
you creatives are beautiful people. I'm too task oriented, like lay it all out and then I go and I do it. And so I tip my hat to those that think freely, that breathe and think outside of the box, and that can produce something that lures people in to want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? I think it's a beautiful spirit that creatives have, because you guys see what we can't see, and then when you put it on paper or canvas or to music, we're just so in love with it. Now again, I haven't seen this, I'm going to see it. But do you feel like there's a part 2? Do we come back and see how Sade and Nina are maybe 5 years down the road, or 10 years? Have you been thinking about maybe a sequel or something?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that. I think there's like a whole universe that these characters live in, and I'm still curious about it. And I think something I do is when I'm in a room, I am thinking about a million ideas at once. Like I'm thinking about the next play, and so I'm thinking about a body of work. So I hope so.
Yeah. Do you want to see this on Broadway? That's a dumb question, but I gotta ask it.
That would be really, really cool. I would love that.
Off Broadway, then on Broadway.
I would love all the things. I think I just have a real commitment to like being engaged in like community and trying to get the audiences that like are important to this work in the room, regardless of where it is. So
or at least touring, right? We can do a national tour, because there's every city. We're a little biased, right? We just think it's Atlanta and New York, but there's Chicago. And there's New Orleans, and there's Florida. There's, parts of maybe Tampa or somewhere. There are pockets of beautiful people like yourself that would love to see this, right? To see these two women and how they have this conversation in this space and create this space. And so I'm encouraging you to make this a national thing if possible. Take it to, even if it's just 6 cities, it'd be great to just see, and get that going and popping. What I'd like to ask you, AK, is what would you say to someone these up and coming creatives, you know, because you've graduated now. You're an adult.
Yes.
You know, you're no longer, you know, we're always a student, we're always learning, but you're an adult now. Getting W-2s and, you know, you're getting checks and stuff. Saying things are happening. What would you say to people that want to pursue the art of being a playwright or just writing?
Yeah.
What would you say to them to keep them encouraged?
Yeah, I would definitely say to engage as much as one can, like just to read, like to read things that speak to the experiences that feel familiar to you. I grew up in Pittsburgh, as I mentioned, and so I read August Wilson very early because he wrote plays that sounded like my dad.
That's like the Bible. That's like the Ten Commandments. Like, yeah, you got to read August and stuff. Absolutely.
I read all of his plays, and I was like, this sounds like my dad on paper, just over and over again. Yeah, in many different ways. So I think engaging, like sort of finding the things that speak to you and following that, like just moving with an energy of like of trusting the things that call to you and not second guessing those things. And I think one of the biggest things for me is always just, even if it doesn't make any sense, putting the pen to paper and just free writing, and eventually what comes out of that will be something true. Yeah. So I think just beginning.
Yeah. You have a spirit, and we just met. You feel like a Ava DuVernay or a Shonda Rhimes. You feel like the world is your oyster. Like this is just the opening to great things to come. Would you consider television or movies?
Yeah, that would be really, yeah, I would love to. And that's such a compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's my favorite artist.
You're welcome, yeah.
And yeah, I definitely have thought about it. I think my heart really does live within theater because of the sort of ways in which it is about just gathering and making a thing. But I also am so excited by like the capacity to reach many audiences that comes from film and TV in a different way. But I love the capacity of like breath, just being in a space and being able to see someone and talk across without any screens, just being present. So yeah.
We're going to talk about the current director for Furlough's Paradise, but just directors in general. How do they get you? Because in your mind, you're writing this play, and the director's the one that has to see the execution of that. And so is it difficult for them to take what you've envisioned when you wrote your play and see it come through the actors and actresses? Has it been difficult for you to see that?
I think that it really is about communication and collaboration, I think. And I found such extraordinary collaborators, and I've been so grateful for that. Like I've met some people in grad school, I've met some folks outside of school, and just learning, like just meeting folks who we almost speak the same language. Like there's just a kind of, it's almost like we've been imagining similar worlds in our different spaces. And I think like all these directors that I'm talking about are folks who are navigating like their own experiences with Black histories and thinking about how like they have similar passions and we're moving towards that. And so I think that's always been a core thing when I'm finding a collaborator, that we're able to see each other. And like, even if we have moments of like questions about what something's going to be, we always are sort of walking towards the same vision of a project.
How do you feel seeing the actors portray your work? What does that do for you?
It's exciting. It's scary. It's like, it's a whirlwind of things.
Scary.
I think the scary part, because it's like, I mean, this play in particular and lots of my work is really personal and comes from like a sort of like me wrestling with things in my own life and trying to figure out how to find community through these things. And creating work as a way to start conversations on things that I've never been able to talk about with folks. And so having actors embody it, I'm always like, oh, this is scary, because it's something that is new and that I'm putting into the world, but also it's like so liberating to be able to like just let go of it and to have it be something that lives beyond me. So yeah.
I want to go back to what you said about your grandmother, a little bit about her story. Just share a little bit about what she has meant to you, or what you were trying to capture when you...
Absolutely. Yeah, so my grandmother, I'm named after her, actually.
Are you?
I am. So my first name is Alexis. And then my name is Alexis Ketina, so my parents are Keith and Tina.
Oh,
so that's where the AK comes from.
Isn't it cute?
Yes. And so my grandmother's life story, so she lived to be 36 years old, and she died very, very young from like alcohol and sort of addiction and things like that. And so the play was sort of traversing, thinking about like what is the weight of like generational like addiction and trauma and things like that, and how do people like make choices towards perhaps a different path or towards thinking through what does healing look like, how to create lineages of healing. And so that's kind of where it comes from. And like the character who's based on me, whose name is Sky, she's kind of coming to find her own name. She names herself SJ by the end, but this journey of like figuring out what are the things that I keep from my ancestors and what are the things that I need to lay down.
I'm telling you.
Ooh. And then also just like navigating like what are the stories that we keep hidden. My grandmother was also queer, and so how do you like sort of think about those stories that don't get told, that don't get space. How does that come to the forefront as well?
Man, beautiful.
Yeah.
Glad I asked that question.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I asked that question. Yeah, that's a story. That's a whole nother thing in itself.
Yeah. I grew up hearing stories about her my whole life, and like I never got to meet her, but just hearing about her presence, just and how it informed my father and then me, it's like been a really big journey for me. Yeah.
What's after Furlough's Paradise? What do you got cooking? You always got something.
Something. I
can tell. I see the wheels turning in there.
Absolutely. So the Black Space Plays is one of the biggest ones. So that's the series of plays that are about Black folks traveling to outer space in different ways. So I'm working on that pretty actively. I'm working on a story where I'm from. There's an old amusement park called Kennywood Park that has a really intense history around like segregation, but also like Black folks eventually when we were allowed in, being allowed to gather there, and like it being a family reunion spot and all these different things. So I'm writing a play about that right now. And just working on a lot of different stories and just kind of trying to just really root my craft and build my craft. So,
You got a lot going on in that head.
Yes.
A lot of stories.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of stories. My mouth is open for those that can't see. My mouth is open because there's a lot in you, for real. Like there's a Shonda and a Ava.
Thank you. That means so much.
A lot of beautiful stories and journeys. And what we appreciate is that it's about community and it's about who we are, where we've come from. It's going to resonate with so many different people. Man, I really want to see your grandmother's story though. That happened.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to share it with you, or I'd love to share it with people.
That's going to be good. That's going to be good. Now, I want to talk about Furlough's Paradise again. Do you get to, just in general for your plays, do you get to pick the people that are in like part of the casting? Are you sitting down there when they're auditioning? Do you have say as to who?
Yeah, I think there's a level of that. I think it's always a like complex thing because it's always about like what are like the collaboration of it. It's like it's the director. And one of my biggest things that I love in a process is how do we truly collaborate? How is it not something where it's like one person's making all the decisions from the top down?
Right.
And so I'm curious always about like, how is the vision of the director intersecting with, what I'm curious about as a playwright? So it's always a conversation. It's always trying to figure it out, trying to think about how do we weigh, what is this and what is that? And in some processes, I've had less of a say just because I've been like, I don't want to be a part of that part of the process because it's very stressful. But yeah, kind of depends on the room. Yeah.
Do you have... You said you have a mentor. Do you have a desire to teach?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I really love teaching, and I've been trying to find my space in that for sure. Yeah,
might be at Spelman.
That would be a dream.
They got $100 million donation given to them. One of the people, husband and wife, that's on the board, and Gayle King interviewing the president and everything. It was just. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, I've been because Alliance has like partnerships with Spelman, so we've had some really great people from the school there, and it's been really wonderful.
The Alliance Theater has some great people that work for them. One's in the room right now. He's an awesome person. And thank you so much for making this connection. Yes, you need to be. There's an opportunity there, definitely. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I feel that Atlanta is a place where dreams can happen.
Yeah.
And big corporations are connecting the dots with women, with Black creatives, with stories that need to be told. And yeah, it would make sense that they get their funding and get their self at the table to support intelligent species like yourself that have beautiful stories that need to be told. So yeah, maybe your space is over at Spelman.
That would be so cool.
You know, even if it's a summer thing, because they got to go to school in the summer. And you know, and Emory is picking up some things. Emory's doing some things to really shine the light on Black stories and things of that nature. So, you know, again, Atlanta's becoming a place that voices can be heard. So yeah, you can teach some people. Can you teach people to write, or is it a gift that you have to have? Because I don't know.
That's always a big debate of like just artistry in general.
Can't teach me. I don't know. Because I think you have to be vulnerable, right? And sharing and telling your story.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And I do think that you can teach someone the tools, you know what I mean, to be able to be, but there is like part of it is about that vulnerability. Like, and I think that everyone has a different level of that they are experiencing, which is like, that's just how we all work. And so I think that's part of that is how we enter work. Like, how do we, what can we bring to the room? How can we bring ourselves to the work? So yeah.
You mentioned August Wilson. Is James Baldwin another one that inspires you?
Yeah.
And would you be interested in doing any kind of a documentary? Maybe I see a Nina Simone story coming out of you, only because you're beautiful.
Thank you.
And there's a silence, but there's a strength in the way that you carry yourself and how you're passionate about your art. And so I'm just, calling out some names that have been powerful in their life when they walk the earth. And sometimes when it's after they transition that we really appreciate them. Those are stories that I think would need to be told, or they have some work that could be done. And it would be great to see that it gets in the hands of yourself.
Absolutely. That would be such a dream to do a biopic of someone and just work on. One of my biggest inspirations is Audre Lorde, and just like how she thinks about work and community. And oh my gosh, I would love there be a biopic, even if it's not by me, by someone, about Audre Lorde's life.
Right. She's such an inspiration to so many people. Is there a book in you? Do you see yourself writing a book?
Yes, I would love to one day. I think I would want to write a memoir one day. I really want to write more poems. I think that's something that I would love to just do, because I think about poetry a lot in my playwriting. So just like writing a sort of standalone and book of poems. But yeah, I think those genres.
You see that?
Yeah,
for see that? Are you a spoken word person since you love poetry and poems? You go out?
I used to be. In college, I did some spoken word, but not so much anymore.
Grown. They're not in college anymore. So they don't do that anymore. You see?
Yeah.
See how you've crossed over?
I like being backstage a little bit too much. It's kind of my vibe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You could do a book of poetry.
That would be a dream. Yeah.
You could do it.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of talents. I'm
Thank
just pulling them out. I'm just picking them, touching them, because you got a lot in you to come out.
Thank you.
You got a lot of great stuff happening for you. Furlough's Paradise. This is going to be good. So tell the people the dates again. When are we going to be there?
Yes. So we begin previews on January 31st, and then it runs until March 3rd. So those are the dates at the Alliance Theater.
Here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How can people find you? If they wanted to connect with you, if they had a question, if they just wanted to just say congratulations, what's the best way people can connect and reach out to you?
Absolutely. People can go to my website. It's akpayne.com. I'm also on Instagram. I do deactivate sometimes because it's a lot on Instagram at times.
Okay.
But it's a.kitina is my Instagram.
You can deactivate. Social media is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a whole world that has to be managed.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't have time for that.
Yep. So I'm on there sometimes. So I will follow you back. Emails work.
Yeah. That's social.
I will get back to you.
Social media is too much.
Absolutely.
You look up, you've lost an hour.
Yes.
With reels and stuff coming through, and the people bringing in the TikTok stuff over to the it's too much.
Yep.
You got to say no.
Yep.
I'm gonna ask you this before I let you go. What do you do for self-care?
Oh my goodness.
How do you balance everything?
Yeah, I'm finding my patterns. It's an ongoing journey. While I've been here, I've been swimming a lot. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Good.
Just because it honestly, I just feel so free. It's like the most free feeling that I have.
Yeah.
But just finding the things that feel nourishing. I think I talked to my mom. I have a dog who's here with me too. So I spend time with him. I just try to be with people with whom I feel just able to be myself, and like I don't have to put on any masks. It's just easy, and I think that's really important. Community, friends, family. My grandmother, she's incredible. I talk to her a lot.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm from New York, and when I moved here, I had no family. People are like, what? I don't know. And I was like, yeah, I was in a long distance relationship that got me to move here, and my friends became family. Here for me, very important. And so I get it, but I'm also learning there's power in the word saying no.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right, because there's a part of me, I'm learning. You listen. I'm learning. I deal with disappointment by staying busy. How about that?
Wow.
And I've learned that. 2023 taught me a lot. 2023 taught me a lot. I learned to just, to not deal with the disappointment and the hurt. And so I'm learning to say no. And even in dealing with and making this happen, it took me a minute because I was just trying to balance and I'm trying to breathe. Typically, I'd be, and so it's nothing personal. It's just how I'm managing my self-care. It's important.
Yes, it's so important.
You have to put you first. They tell you on the plane. When the mask drop, you put it on you first, and then you can save all the people around you. So I would encourage you to continue to do whatever it is. And guess what? It changes every day.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all. It can change during the course of the day.
And you can discover it anew. I think that's something that's really, that speaks to me.
So it's very important that you continue to invest in who you are as AK, because you can get so caught up in all of the blessings and the things that are coming your way that you're not breathing, you're not resting, you're not clear, right?
Absolutely.
And as a creative, as a human being, as a creature from the Most High, you just need that. So I encourage you to do that. So no shame in shutting stuff down, and you'll get to them, and you can always come back and say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It took me a minute, but I needed this minute because it's a lot. And because we're people of color, we're women of color, just because of us, there's a high expectancy of us, and we gotta show up higher, and we gotta. So anytime you have a moment that you ain't gotta, take that moment. And that's a cup of tea, that's with friends, that's reading a book, that's just being, that's living and breathing.
Yes, absolutely.
Take that with you.
Thank
We're
you.
proud of you.
Thank
Congratulations.
You so much.
What a beautiful person.
Thank you.
I'm getting this ticket. I'm going.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to bring a friend too.
Absolutely.
And promote it, because we do have to support the arts. We talked about it before we went on the screen, went live today on the show, that there might have been people not interested because really there wasn't quality. Let me say that, right? And so now you're bringing quality back, to the art form. So we thank you. Giving us something to put us in the seats to check out and observe. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Listen, that's my time today. Real Chicks Rock. You know me. You can find me everywhere. You know me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere. Go check out my website, realchicksrock.com. Subscribe. We blog. We do a little bit of everything over there. Yeah. Check us out. We love you. Listen, you enjoyed this episode today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. But before I go, I always want to leave you with this, because he was my mentor. He didn't know that, but I loved him. Frankie Crocker used to say on 107.5 up in New York, may you live to be 100, and I live to be 100 minus a day. So I never knew that beautiful people like you passed away. Until next time, be well, take care, and continue to rock on.